Hello everyone and welcome back to Unforgotten Tech. My name is Gregory Krause and today we're going to be talking about bleeding brakes. Today we're going to talk about what bleeding brakes is, when and why you should bleed brakes, and last we're going to go over a full tutorial on how to properly bleed brakes by yourself. Now before we get started, if you can take a moment to like and subscribe to the channel, and if you want to jump in and be a part of the discussion, please throw a comment down below. So what is bleeding brakes? Bleeding brakes is the process of removing air from a hydraulic braking system. This is not to be confused with flushing brakes, where flushing is removing all of the brake fluid and replacing it with brand new brake fluid. If you have questions about how to flush your brake system, check out our video on flushing brakes. We're going to want to bleed the brake system anytime we suspect that there's air in the system. This is because air in a brake system is bad. It can reduce the braking efficiency or altogether cause your braking system not to work. A customer's concern of air in the brake system could be a spongy brake pedal, or braking is not as efficient as it once was and takes more effort. You also want to bleed the brake system anytime that you have a leak in the brake system or you do a repair on the brake system. All right, now that we know what bleeding the brakes is, when and why we need to bleed the brakes, let's go ahead and go out there and bleed the brakes on this vehicle here. Now before we get started bleeding the brakes, we're going to need to get our PPE and equipment ready. Our PPE is going to be safety glasses, closed-toed shoes, and be free of any loose or hanging jewelry, hair, or clothing. For equipment, we'll need a combination wrench, and we'll need a container to bleed the brake fluid into. This was a simple setup. We have a used water bottle, we have a zip tie and some brake line, and I'll show you how to use it. Let's go check it out. With the vehicle lifted and the wheels off, we are going to first inspect the bleeder screw and make sure it's not stripped or damaged. We will then loosen it and retighten the screw to make sure it is easily turned. Now we will connect our bleeder hose with the line running upwards. This will allow the brake fluid to run into the line. All the air will raise to the top and escape, all while leaving the brake fluid directly in the path of the bleeder screw. This is important because when we release the brake pedal, we will suck fluid back in instead of air. We will always want to use the manufacturer's recommendations for the sequence of bleeding. However, most vehicles will start with the wheel farthest from the master cylinder and work its way closer. This would be the right rear first, then the left rear, then the right front, and then we'll end with the left front. We will apply pressure to the brake pedal, taking it roughly 2 inches from the floorboard. We do not want to push the pedal all the way to the floorboard because this can damage the master cylinder. We will slowly and consistently depress the brake pedal and release the brake pedal 3 to 5 times or until there's no more air coming out of the brake lines. We will bleed all 4 wheels in sequence. Things to take note during this process will be to make sure the brake fluid is always above the minimum line. We do not want to run out of brake fluid in the master cylinder because then we'll have to re-bleed the entire system and may have damage to the master cylinder. We will also want to clean up any brake fluid that spills. Brake fluid is very hazardous and will quickly damage paint. We will also want to make sure that the cap to the master cylinder is not off for too long. Brake fluid is hygroscopic and will quickly absorb moisture from the atmosphere, causing it to be ineffective. All right, just to recap, today we learned about bleeding brakes. We learned what bleeding brakes is, when and why we need to bleed brakes, and last we went over a full tutorial on how to bleed brakes. Well, my name is Gregory Krause from Unforgotten Tech. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming in and viewing our video today. And remember, be strong, believe, be unforgotten.